Have you ever stared at a name on a ringing phone and felt the world tilt on its axis? It was 3:17 p.m. on a Tuesday when my phone buzzed, displaying a name I hadn't seen in over a year. Mark Jennings. He was my wife Sarah's boss, the head of a high-powered marketing firm in downtown Chicago. My first thought was that something terrible had happened to her. My heart hammered against my ribs as I answered. "Hello." Mark's voice was hesitant, laced with an awkwardness I couldn't place. Listen, this is a weird call. Just wanted to check in, see how Sarah's doing." We were all really sorry to see her go. A cold dread, slick and oily, washed over me. I was standing in our kitchen, the late afternoon sun slanting through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. "Doe," I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. "What are you talking about? She's at work right now?" A long, heavy silence stretched across the line, thick with unspoken truths. Then Mark sighed, a sound of pity that made my skin crawl. "Buddy," he said softly, "Sarah quit 6 months ago. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows." The phone call ended, but I just stood there, the silence of our empty house screaming at me. 6 months? For 6 months, Sarah had kissed me goodbye every morning, dressed in her sharp business attire, briefcase in hand, and driven off to a job she didn't have. Where had she been going? The question was a venomous snake, coiling in my gut. The humiliation was a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. Our friends, our family, they all saw us as the perfect couple, as the successful lawyer and the marketing executive living in a beautiful brownstone just off Lincoln Park. It was all a lie. My life was a meticulously crafted stage play, and I was the only one who didn't know his lines. The strange behavior started to click into place, a series of puzzle pieces I'd been too blind to assemble. The late nights she claimed were client dinners, the weekend seminars that left her exhausted and distant. The way she guarded her phone like it was a state secret, its screen always angled away from me, a faint glowing barrier between us. She'd become so cold, so manipulative. Any question I asked was met with a sigh of exasperation, as if my concern was a burden. "You're being paranoid," she'd say, her voice dripping with condescension. "Do you not trust me?" She weaponized my trust, turning it back on me until I felt guilty for even asking. The villains felt untouchable, living in a world I wasn't privy to, our world. And I was just the clueless husband paying the mortgage. That night, the dam broke. I sat in my home office, the glow of my laptop the only light, and I shattered. The image of her leaving that morning, the casual "I love you" she'd thrown over her shoulder, played on a loop in my mind. It was a performance. All of it. The grief was suffocating, a physical weight pressing down on my chest. But as the hours bled into dawn, something else began to burn through the pain. Rage. A cold, clear, calculating rage. The broken man was gone, and in his place a strategist was born. My grief was a luxury I could no longer afford. Revenge was a necessity. The first step was proof. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Frank, who operated out of a small office in the Loop. I gave him everything: Sarah's photo, her car details, and the lie she'd been living. It didn't take him long. 2 days later, a manila envelope landed on my desk. The photos inside were grainy, taken from a distance, but they were undeniable. Nice. There was Sarah, kissing a man in the parking garage of the Peninsula Hotel on East Superior Street. The man was Mark Jennings, her old boss, the man who had called me. Betrayal was deeper and darker than I could have imagined. They hadn't just been colleagues. He hadn't called out of concern. He'd called to gloat, to twist the knife. Frank's report was thorough. They met 3 times a week at the same hotel. He'd even gotten copies of hotel receipts, paid for by a corporate card under Jennings' name. I had my proof. Now I needed a plan. My revenge wouldn't be a simple, angry outburst. It would be a siege. I would dismantle her life, piece by piece, with the same cold precision she had used to dismantle mine. I was a lawyer, and I would use the law like a scalpel. I filed for divorce, but I didn't serve her the papers. Not yet. I compiled every piece of evidence, the photos, the hotel receipts, phone records I subpoenaed that showed thousands of texts between them. I documented her work hours, cross-referencing them with the time she was at the hotel. I discovered she had been draining our joint savings account, Small withdrawals over months that added up to a small fortune. It was all there, a neat, tidy package of her deceit. The social trap was next. Sarah's parents were hosting their 40th anniversary party in 2 weeks at a lavish ballroom at the Drake Hotel. Everyone would be, their family, friends, pillars of their community. It was the perfect stage. The day of the party, I played the part of the doting husband. I smiled, I mingled, I told everyone how proud I was of Sarah and her demanding career. She was radiant, basking in the attention, completely unaware of the storm that was about to break. Her father, a proud, old-school man who valued loyalty above all else, stood up to give a speech. He spoke of love, of commitment, of building a life on a foundation of trust. As he finished, to a round of applause, I walked to the microphone. "I'd like to say a few words as well," I began, my voice steady. Sarah beamed at me, a proud smile on her face. I looked out at the crowd, at all the smiling faces, and then my eyes landed on her. For the last 10 years, I believed in that foundation of trust. I believed in the woman standing next to me. I paused, letting the silence hang in the air. But foundations can be built on lies. For the last 6 months, while I thought my wife was building her career, she was, in fact, unemployed. Instead, she was spending her days in hotel rooms with her former boss, Mark Jennings. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Sarah's face went white, her smile frozen in a grotesque mask of horror. Her father's face was a thundercloud. I wasn't finished. I gestured to a large screen behind the stage, where a slideshow of family photos had been playing. And just in case there's any doubt, with a click of a remote, the screen changed. The first photo from the pie appeared, blown up for all to see. Sarah and Mark, locked in an embrace in that concrete parking garage. Click, another photo. Click, a hotel receipt. Click, bank statements showing the withdrawals. I didn't need to say another word. The evidence spoke for itself. The room was a tomb of silent judgment. Sarah's mother was openly weeping. Her father looked like he wanted to commit murder. Sarah just stood there, exposed and ruined. I walked off the stage, past her, and didn't look back. The next day, the divorce papers were served. With the evidence of adultery and financial misconduct, the judge awarded me everything: the house, the majority of our assets, and a clear final judgment. She was left with nothing but the clothes on her back and the shame that would follow her forever. Mark Jennings was fired from his firm for misuse of company funds and a morals clause in his contract. Their affair had cost them everything. Sold the brownstone in Lincoln Park, the house of our shared lies. I moved to a quiet apartment overlooking the lake, where the water was a vast, gray expanse of solitude. Sometimes I hear things through the grapevine. That Sarah is living with her sister, working a menial job, a ghost of the woman she used to be. There's no satisfaction in it. There's no victory. There is only the quiet hum of emptiness. The revenge was perfect, but it didn't fix what was broken inside me. I learned that some wounds don't heal. You just learn to live with the scars. The end.